Hi, welcome back to the Wisdom of Your Soul. I'm your host, Janice Mary. I am a psychotherapist and I try to use my intuition and my connection to that soul energy to help with my clients and in my life. And I just love to share my experiences because I feel like they're so helpful for me and other people. As always, I ask what I should talk about during these little segments, these little shows, podcasts. And the first thing I always hear from my ego is, you don't really have anything left to talk about. You really have used up every idea and everything you could possibly talk about. And, that's usually what the ego will say, because again, the ego is our little protector and wants to keep us safe and protected. And so when you ask the ego, generally that's the answer you get. You get something negative and something that is going to kind of derail you a little bit. So the ego always speaks first. And if we just listen to the ego and run our lives based on this ego voice that lives within us, that critical voice, then we really would basically not be doing a lot of the things that we might really love to do and want to sink into doing. So I always give room for my intuition, the other voice that lives within inside of me that tells a different story, like we were talking about last week, and also is a softer voice, a loving voice, a kind voice that gives you wisdom and information and all kind of access to other parts of yourself. And as a therapist, I find that very intriguing, and I'm always doing little scientific experiments on myself to see how far I could push the limits of connecting to my soul energy and to see where that brings me and how, basically, how it could help myself and my clients live a happier life. Because I do see so many people that are in so much pain because they really do believe the ego voice, they listen to the ego voice, and they run their lives trying to quiet the ego voice by doing what it says, basically. So we're trying to really learn not to do that. And so after the ego voice gave me its opinion this morning that you don't really have anything else to share, good, that's it, I took a deep breath and I went and took a shower, and that's where it's easy for me to connect to the soul energy in the shower for some reason, and a lot of psychics and mediums will say the same thing. So use the shower to connect, use the shower to ask questions and to get ideas and to hear the softer voice that lives within you. So when I was trying to prepare for today, I asked, what is it that I can talk about today? And immediately, I got this image of my energy, my soul energy, the energy of love, whatever you want to name it, your inner being, this energy that lives within us that gives us our life force, that basically is our spirit. And once our spirit leaves the body doesn't even look the same. A lot of people will say, when someone passes on, that the body looks not even like the person because the spirit has left the body. And the person isn't in the body anymore. The person is released from the body and going back home into spirit life. So what we can do, though, is we can really align ourselves with the spirit that lives inside of us, the soul energy. So as I was taking a shower and asking, what could I talk about today, I got the image of my soul energy and expanding it, like just seeing my soul energy. And when I was looking at my soul energy, it looked very pink to me. And it's within your body, and it can be outside of your body, and you can expand it. So that's what I started doing. I noticed the soul energy inside myself, and then I tried to expand it out further and further, and just to see how that felt, to expand this energy that lives within you. And as you're doing that, you're connecting to it. And as you're connecting to it, you start to feel better. You just do. So the minute I started doing that and feeling that energy within me, that voice of the ego telling me I had nothing to talk about was gone. It was just gone. There was no work in it. There was no fight. It was just gone because in the energy, in that loving energy. There's just a knowing of, oh, here I am. This is who I really am. I'm not that ego voice that drives me crazy and tells me all this crazy stuff. I'm the spirit, and the spirit part of us feels so much better when we connect to it. So today, why don't you just try to connect to that energy within you. Just practice even now. Where is it in your body? Some of us are so disconnected from the spirit within us, the soul within us, that you have to really look for it in your body, that it could be hidden, it could be in your feet, so wherever it is, you want to just kind of meditate for a second, do it in the shower like I do, and I get a lot of information in the shower. Do it in the shower and see where that energy is within you. Do you see it in your heart area? Do you see it in your chest, your stomach, your feet? Where is it? And expand it so that it is covering your entire body and going past your body, because our spirits can be very big. Our spirit, like my spirit, could fill this entire room. And it's funny, when I think about doing that, there is a little hesitation within me to say, no, I don't want to go that far. But as you practice it, you can just get more and more comfortable with expanding your spirit. And the reason why you want to do that is so that you can feel it. Not because, for any other reason, but you want to feel that good energy and that loving energy, because that's what helps you get away from the ego. And that's what helps you to be able to realize, oh, this is the real part of me. This is the part of me that I want to ask questions. This is the part of me that I want to consult with when it comes to really important matters. This is the part of me that when I'm working with clients or therapists that I supervise, this is the part of me that I want to be in. I don't want to be in the scared ego that is always going to tell me disaster is lurking like 2 steps away from you. So do that today. Look within yourself, find that energy, and then expand it. See how you feel. Is it easy for you to expand the energy, or is it like a little bit difficult for you to expand this energy? I find I do resist a teeny bit in expanding the energy, but that doesn't mean anything. It's there and I can feel it. And the minute I feel this energy, I just feel this love that is incredible. So after I did that, I was like, okay, so I'll teach them how to do that. So we're going to be expanding our soul energy and feeling it. Then what? Then what can we talk about? So I'm looking on my phone, and then I see a post by Abraham Hicks, and it's all about the more that you align with good thoughts, the more you concentrate on good thoughts, the more you expand that, and more good things happen to you and come to you. And that is really, really true. So as I was reading this post, I was kind of getting the feeling, talk about that, because people are working so hard to be positive, and then it often backfires like it did for you. Tell about your experience. So I was following Abraham Hicks, and I just loved it because it was such a relief from the crappy thinking that I had about myself. They were encouraging me to be that traffic director and to direct those negative thoughts elsewhere and only focus on really, really good thoughts, because once you do, you really notice that you create what you're focusing on, and that's so, so true. And you get more energy. If you think about, if you're in negative thoughts and you're listening to your ego and your ego is putting you down, how are you going to feel? How are you going to feel that in that day? You're not going to feel very energetic. You're not going to have energy. You're not going to have enthusiasm. You're not going to be inspired. You're not going to do any of that. So I did notice when I was listening to Abraham Hicks and following them that there were periods of time when I felt great, like I just felt really good, and I felt like I was creating and I was doing really well. The problem was it never kept up. I always ended up going into my default ego, always ending right back into the ego. And then I felt like I failed. It was like, oh my goodness, I can't even do this, so I'm failing at this. So I would have a couple of good days, and then a lot of days back in the ego, criticizing me, telling me that it's not going to work, and that kind of thing. So it wasn't really until I connected to the energy within me that I could really see that the thinking good about yourself is normal and natural. and is really good for you. But I never felt it before I connected to that energy. I just couldn't get there. I don't know if my ego was just too strong. I just couldn't maintain it very well. So once I connected to this energy, there's the knowing that you are love, and you are loved, and you are so miraculous and wise, and you have access to so much information when you come from that place. And so you start to really feel that. And that's really when my whole life changed. Everything changed and everything got better, because within this knowing, I didn't have to fight anymore. I didn't have to fight that ego. When you go into this energy and you feel this love, you feel that energy, you don't have to fight. You don't have to try to be positive. You just move into this energy of love and positivity. That's really who you are. So it's almost like when the ego moves away, that's what comes up. So a lot of our techniques and a lot of the things that we try to teach people are trying to move the ego away. So Abraham Hicks is trying to help you move the ego away by just focusing on positive self-talk. And that can work, but a lot of times it only takes you halfway. So the full way is if you connecting to this energy that you have access to, this other voice, if you ask that other voice's opinion, you're going to know that you're this positive, loving energy. And when you're in that enough of the time, you're going to start to see changes in your life, because you are operating at a fullness and not operating out of a deficit. So with the ego, we operate out of a deficit. The ego is always telling us there's something wrong, so we have to fix it. When you're in this other energy, you're operating from fullness, wholeness, and abundance. And when you know that, it's not like you become this narcissistic, grandiose person. You become actually more humble, more connected, and you know you're connected to other people. So you have access to this, but so does everybody else. So it's a very, very humbling feeling. It's not like, oh, I have a special gift and I only have it and nobody else has it, and that makes me great. It's not that at all. It's a very humbling experience, and it's a knowing of who you truly are. And you have access to that, and nobody else can take that away from you. But you're the only one that can find it. So you have to find it within your body and outside of your body, by just asking for that second voice to come in, like I did when I was planning for this talk. What should I do today? What should I talk about today? And instantly, things start coming into my mind after I settled the ego down. It's a little easier for me to settle the ego down, because I know that to me, it's just like a child who's afraid, who's trying to protect the human body. And that's the job of the ego. The ego wants to protect our human body. So we want to give it thanks. We want to say, thank you really very much, but I've got this and I'm okay. And when you go into this energy of knowing, then you know that you get all this information. So that's where the wisdom comes in. So this is the wisdom of your soul. So the ego is saying, no, you tapped out. You don't have any more wisdom. That's basically what the ego is telling me. And when I go into the energy of the soul, it's like, say, talk about this, talk about this, talk about that, talk about this. Would you like to talk about this? Does this sound interesting to you? It gives you so much information to talk about. And it's really funny, because every single time I'll sit down to write a post or to do one of these talks, and I'm like, I got nothing. I have got nothing. And within a second or two of soothing that ego voice that says, I got nothing, it goes into this other place, and that accesses this other information that is wise, is much wiser than the human person that I am. And you have that lives within you, and you want to access that, and you want to ask for your second opinion. That's the best way I kind of remember to do it, is that the ego always talks first, always is going to answer you first, and your second opinion is going to be this softer voice that lives within you, and it's an energy. And the more you can feel that energy, it's like basking yourself in love. And why wouldn't you want to do that? Why wouldn't you want to just bask yourself in love? and know who you are and tap into this wisdom and tap into the worth of you. Why wouldn't you want to do that? You know, why do we even resist doing that? I mean, even I will resist sometimes, if I'm caught up in my ego and I'm caught up in what is going on in the world, or, I'm caught up with my clients that I feel like, oh my God, I wish I can help them better. That's very ego-y. The minute I go into the soul energy, the whole thing turns around. It's like, everybody's okay. Everybody's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Everybody's learning tons. We're all doing great. I hear a very, very different story. And I hear a very different story about my clients too. So where the ego might be, you need to get them to stop doing this, this, and this, the soul wisdom would be saying, aren't they great? They are so talented in this. Oh my goodness. This person is so smart. They just bring up nothing but strengths. And if something is going on with them, that is painful or difficult, I'll hear something like, they're going to learn a lot from this. It's okay. Experiences are just experiences. Take off the label negative and positive. If you take off the label of a good experience versus a bad experience and just label it a learning experience, then you can sit with somebody who's in pain better. Now, that is not what my ego would tell me. My ego would say, you need to fix them. Something's wrong with you. You're not a good therapist and you need to fix them. So going into this other energy, asking for my second opinion, that's what I would hear. And that's beautiful. I mean, I couldn't come up with that. That's a beautiful allowance to allow people to be where they are, that whether they're in a good experience or a bad experience, I don't have to take them out of it, and it's not my job to change it, and it's not my job to help them out of their ego, which drives me crazy because I don't want people to be in their ego because it's so painful. And I've lived so much of my life in my ego that's like my little crusade, is to get people out of their ego. And sometimes I get a little bit too wrapped up in that. So when I ask for the second opinion, it calms me down. And that's the answer I'll get. And how wise is that? How wise is to let people be where they are, sit with them with their pain, hear them, reflect back to them what they're telling you, be there for them, notice how wonderful they are, notice their wisdom and their intuition and feed that back to them. That's so important. Notice when they're in their passions and when they're naturally happy, that you can share that experience with them. Isn't that better for them to stay in that than trying to do things that maybe are not, they don't like to do? Help people to see the difference between, being in negative thoughts versus positive thoughts, but don't have any energy around it, because they will get there. That's really what they would say to me. They will get there. And even if they don't get there in this lifetime, they'll get there when they're back in spirit. And they won't, it's not like they failed, and it's not like you failed. It's just their experience was to include more of an ego life. And some people's experience is to include an ego and a spiritual life. And some people's experience is like they're mostly in spirit. So they don't struggle even as much as I do. There are some spiritual teachers that are really in spirit a lot of the time. I would say I'm like half and half, or 75-25, depending on the week. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because we all get back to the same place, which is the wholeness and the truth of your spirit. And once you recognize that you have access to that, it's like a wealth and well of knowledge that you can just draw from and you can just sip from, and you'll always feel full, and you'll never feel alone. And even if you're alone, you won't feel lonely, because this energy of love is always with you, because it is you. It is who you are. It is an amazing experience. And that's the thing that I try so hard to share and help people to move out of the ego and into that spiritual soul energy. Because when you're in that energy of abundance, it changes you. It helps you to have the confidence to do the things that you want to do in your life. It gives you the confidence to say, you know what, I want to learn how to knit. It gives you the confidence to say, you know what, I want to, open up a new business, or I want to stop working, or whatever, whatever desire you have within you is a soul desire. And your soul will open the doors to fulfill that soul desire if you let it. But you have to soothe the ego enough so that you can hear your second opinion, so that you can notice the desires that you have within, because your desires are going to be very different than anybody else's. And then the soul will help open those doors for you so that you can fulfill those desires and you can live in those. And they can be very simple things. They don't have to be big things, or they can be really big things that you never thought you could do in your life. So it really just depends on, what has been kind of in your heart, that you've wanted to do, that the ego has taken away. The ego is definitely the no man, and the soul energy, the spirit energy, is the yes man. So it just depends who we're asking. Who are you asking? And who are you listening to? And what kind of conversations are you having with yourself? The ego can draw us in so that we're having very negative conversations all day long. So if you're talking to the ego, you're probably complaining all day long about what you're doing today, what you have to get done today, and that robs your energy. So notice, how are you even interacting with your ego? Are you agreeing with it? Are you gossiping with it? Are you talking terrible things about yourself and your life? If we focus on that, we're going to get more of that, and you just literally drain yourself, and you get heavier and heavier and heavier. And that's depression. That's exactly what depression is. Or you listen to your ego and it scares you. It's full of fear. And so you're living in the future, and that's anxiety. And that's what the ego does. When we move back into this other soul, spiritual energy, we're not in any of that. We're not in the future. We're very much present, and we're lighter, because in that energy of love, you don't have a choice but to be in that energy. There's no choice, and you don't fight it because it just feels so good. You know who you are in that energy. So that's really where you want to be. So just kind of think about that this week, that you have your first opinion of the ego, and then the second opinion is going to be your soul. But really try to envision this energy that lives within you. Feel the energy that lives within you. Give it a color, give it a name. Some people name their spirit, like their spirit is a different name than them. And so when they want to connect to their spirit or their soul energy, they go by that name. You can do anything that you want. You just have to know that there is another way for you, that you can live your life coming from abundance, wholeness, and love, as opposed to coming from, a deficit, a big deficit. So give that a try. Really go within and feel that energy that lives within you, and ask for the second opinion. Just ask and listen. Just give yourself a little bit of a chance to hear what the second opinion has to say to you, and you won't regret it, and it can change your life. So give that a try. As always, if you have any questions or comments, you can email me at janissmart40@yahoo.com. I'd love to hear your feedback. Have a beautiful, wonderful week, connecting to that soul energy, whatever color it is, and however you get it to expand. Just notice it. Notice you. Notice the good in you. Notice the beauty in you. Notice this love inside of you. Because once you hear that voice, you can never get enough of it. You can never get enough of being told how special you are, how wonderful you are, how connected you are, how brilliant you are, how much you have to offer. You never get sick of hearing those things, and you deserve to hear those things. It's enough with the ego. You deserve to hear who you truly are, and what you're really made of, and what you can do with your life, and how you can enjoy it. So have a beautiful week, and we'll talk again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.